So, I want to talk about free will. I think that is a very interesting subject because I don't believe that we have free will. Let me explain. So, when we're born, right, we are the totality of our experiences. We're the totality of our physical characteristics. So, there was an experiment done on rats, or mice or rats, or whatever, and the experiment was done that they removed their head from their stomach and they had different thought patterns. Of course, the head had ways of being alive and so on. And the idea was that we think differently with our stomachs than we do our heads. So, again, here's another aspect that makes it so that we're disconnected from we're not disconnected from our bodies. So when you're hangry, you're going to be more irritable. You're going to be more just unpleasant to be around. And there are reasons for that. Now, if we go into detail, that is one aspect in which our body is not in control of our free will. So that is one aspect. Another aspect is that we have no say on our environment and where we were grown up, what we had access to, what we didn't have access to, parenting. If our parents were good to us, if our kids weren't good to us. There are environmental aspects, and they all range from good to bad. And these are manifestations of our free will as well, because they came from a bad home, maybe they don't act so well now, and so on and so forth, right? These are structural things that we have in our life that make us more, that basically make us not as inclined to make better choices, right? Or to make better choices. But it all depends on where you were grown up and where you were raised, how much money you had growing up, so on and so forth. Your environment, your neighbors, maybe they're all bad, maybe they're all good, but it all molded who you become, right? And all of these steps, all of these things contribute to who you are today. All these micro things. And then you have brain chemistry, anything ranging from introversion to extroversion. You have anything ranging from how you speak emotionally, how you speak thinkingly, and all of these things contribute to who you become. Now the question is, and this is the question I would like to pose, is how is it that detached, we think, when we think of the concept of free will, we think that we make decisions in a vacuum. Or at least this is what I'm assuming, and this is the one that I hear most prevalently, is that cats. Oh, hi, cat. Snuck up. Anyway, what we think about when it comes to free will is like making decisions in a vacuum. Oh, well, they had their choice to make these decisions. It's like, but the thing is that they weren't under the circumstances. Let's say somebody has post-traumatic stress disorder and they duck and cover. Well, they didn't make that choice, okay? But the thing is that maybe they hit somebody. Well, did they have that choice then? If it became that they were attacking another person or they made a decision on a split basis, did they really have something there to really dictate? Did they have some kind of principle or free will agent to say, hey, I'm not going to do this thing? Okay, well, that's a bad example, let's say. Let's say that is not necessarily something you want to think about. Let's say on a more benign level, you choose Which sports car you like? Well, you can't really do that. Why not? Because what kind of car you drive, well, you're at the dealership. You don't necessarily want to waste the guy's time that you're with, or maybe you do. Maybe you don't like that particular place. Maybe the vibe isn't getting to you, or the vibe is kind of weird, or maybe the vibe is good. There are agents that we can have to produce certain smells to make people more comfortable. We have certain things that we have different ways of putting our words in certain ways that make people more comfortable than uncomfortable. We have more of a feminine presence or masculine presence. All of these things are contributors. And people have known this for a while, and there are things out there that we can manipulate people's experience to where we can have the best outcome for what we want. So does the person, and if this were a thing, if this were not a thing, let's say all of this was completely random. Uh, it was as silly as essential oils, let's say. Then how come its proven efficaciousness is like we still have a sense of it's like this is trending. This is something that works. You have clickbait titles. Okay, well, what does that do? It generates revenue and makes it so that people want to click on your things more. Okay, so how does that contribute to free will? Oh, well, we chose this specific video, or we chose another video. It doesn't matter. If something has clickbait, why is it that they're more likely to have better views than somebody who doesn't have clickbait? I'm sorry, but in all of this, everything that we've gathered as far as things, I feel like free will simply just doesn't have anything supporting it. It's as fictitious as having a soul. It's a meaningless thing that contributes nothing. And if we learn to respect free will, if we say, hey, be that as it may, it doesn't exist. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that it doesn't exist. Maybe we should be less manipulative on people and know what triggers people into doing certain things and prevent companies from doing those things. Like Facebook, TikTok, what have you. These companies, to me, are pernicious. And if we don't respect the fact that free will doesn't exist, then I think that we open ourselves to victim blame and gaslight people who make poor decisions. Because, well, I mean, they lost all that money. Why? Because they're just, the free will in them just made it so that they chose something stupid to do with their money. Okay, but the question is that, why did they make that stupid choice? Well, they didn't know any better. Okay, but that's not their fault for not knowing better. It's their society's fault for not teaching them better, so on and so forth. If there's anything, I can make another video talking about this specific questions, but as far as the generality is concerned, I don't believe in free will, and the reason why is because I think it opens up a lot of avenues to tell people that we can take advantage of vulnerable people because, well, it was their choice to make, even though we're not taking into consideration that we as a human species are very vulnerable in ways that companies blatantly exploit. And I think that's something we need to take into consideration and not just victim blame people for making bad decisions. So I can make another video like this or not, and I hope I covered everything that I was thinking. So yeah, pictures of cat for the free will, Like and subscribe and all that jazz.